All right, guys, we have a Jordan Peterson scandal. We have, this blew up. He was trending on Twitter. There's been some fallout to this, so let me walk you through it. Jordan Peterson went on Twitter the other day, and he's responding to this New York Post tweet with the Sports Illustrated, this new cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. There's a model here. Let me give you, better look at the picture. Yumi Nu is the name of the model. This is what she looks like. Okay? Jordan Peterson jumps in, and he quote tweets it and says, "Sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that." Now, it's kind of amazing to me, and you're going to see this in a little bit, but he says something like that, and then he seems to, not expect backlash. It seems like he wasn't prepared for people to, very strongly disagree and kind of mock him in response to this. The fact that he didn't see that coming is shocking to me. It's shocking to me. Okay, so now let me read some of the responses, because boy, are they something. And then I'll give you guys, my opinion as we go along here. So Hassan Piker jumped in. "Sorry, not beautiful, and no amount of authoritarian tolerance is going to change that." So, poking fun at Jordan. I mean, look, Jordan didn't say that he personally is beautiful, so kind of a non sequitur, but, people are fucking around. 125,000 likes. Jesus Christ, Hassan. God damn, that's a lot. That's way more than Jordan Peterson's tweet here. Jordan Peterson's has 59.6 thousand. Holy shit. Vosh says, "It's all right, sir. I like men too." Also, authoritarian, chunky women on magazine covers. You sound like a parody of you. K. Thor Jensen really goes for the jugular here. "My guy, you look like a child skeleton covered in mayonnaise with dryer lint on the top." Jesus, bro. You're in no position to be assessing anybody's beauty, you rickety chunky. Twitter is fucking vicious, man. Holy shit. Ratio plus you're ugly plus wit plus foolish in the background. I don't know what that means. Sorry if my boomerdom is showing. "I need all my Twitter followers to know that I just saw a plus-size model in Sports Illustrated, and I'm definitely offended and not horny at all. Please know that." Bold of a guy who looks like a PS2 render of Count Dooku to comment on someone else's look. What the fuck? Alright, guys, we have a Count Dooku reference on Secular Talk for the first time. That's hilarious. Count Dooku? That's so, niche Star Wars shit. "Reject modernity, embrace tradition." And then here's a picture of, traditional beauty. Traditional beauty standards here. Look. Well, I don't know how traditional that one is, but it is something old that I guess by definition you could say is traditional. Anyway. "The government is forcing me to masturbate to a person I'm not attracted to." 1984. Okay. "I'm not sure what's worse, that a man publicly shames a woman he doesn't find attractive while wanting to leave a site he calls vicious, calls it authoritarian tolerance when others find her attractive, or that he lures men into believing his words or ideas have validity. Are you going to cry? I'm cranking it to this picture, Dr. Peterson. Cranking it! What defines her as not beautiful? Is beautiful not confidence, sensuality, and positivity? Perhaps not everyone has the same standards, but what defines someone that is not beautiful is most certainly not present here. This is the ideal female body. You may not like it, but this is what peak performance looks like. Jordan Peterson looks like his job is stealing blood from hospitals for Dracula. Jesus. But Jordan, you look like a lizard that perished in a tub of old yogurt. What were you saying about corrosive and personal vitriol on your other post? What is your comment, if not that? What does your comment accomplish? Who does this help? You really should delete this. Dude, she's hot. I'm a fan of yours, and I'm always getting my young adult sons and daughters to watch your videos. I'm even gifted to your self-authoring course, but I have to disagree. Beauty is subjective. You can be older or heavier and still be beautiful. Is it standard beauty? No. Why do men feel the need to insult a woman's appearance to make themselves feel better about how ugly they are? True, but your wife or daughter either. Jesus. Wow. So, there's literally 100% of the comments that are, sort of, fuck you. There were some, my favorite comments, which we're not seeing many of them here, maybe we saw, one of them, is, I really like you, I support you, I agree with you, but, like, my girl looks like this, and I find her beautiful, so, like, sort of fuck you. Like, I think this girl is hot. That's a very common... We got some NSFW material here on the Secular Talk YouTube channel. I'm mostly sick of... This is Felix, who we've had on Crystal Kyle and Friends. This guy's hilarious. I'm mostly sick of seeing Jordan Peterson stuff, but the post everyone is talking about today is funny because it seems like he tried jacking off to the cover photo and failed and tried to make it a political issue. Oh, Jesus. Okay. All right, you guys get the gist here. Anyway, what Zero Pussy does to me. I have to stop scrolling through these. All right. Enough. Anyway, okay. So, do I have another... let me check if I have another... Do I have another element about this? Oh, yeah. So here's what happened after. Peterson sees the backlash. Clearly, it makes him feel bad, and he goes, "So I told my staff to change my password to keep me from temptation, and am departing once again. If I have something to say, I'll write an article or make a video. If the issue is not important enough to justify that, then perhaps it would be best to just let it go." So I don't know, is that him saying he's gonna, like, let this one go? That he's gonna hold the L on this one? And then the tweet underneath it says, "The endless flood of vicious insult is really not something that can be experienced anywhere else. I like to follow the people I know, but I think the incentive structure of this platform makes it intrinsically and dangerously insane." Okay, so now, let's get to my take on this. There some aspects of attraction that are kind of, like, more objective? Well, yeah, like symmetry, for example, is viewed as, like, something that, for whatever reason, human beings objectively find that beautiful. Now, symmetry is one of those things. Are there others? Maybe. I don't know what other aspects of attractiveness are objective. But there's also, like, a lot of attractiveness is massively subjective. Like, colossally subjective. Just to give one example, and, like, beauty standards change. So just to give one example, when I was growing up, the thing that was viewed as, like, the ideal female body is, like, skinny women with really big boobs. That was what people generally viewed in society as, like, that's the ideal female body. Now, why is that? I don't know. I mean, it's probably some cultural, sociological, environmental reason of, like, maybe it was Pamela Anderson at the time who was viewed as, like, the height of femininity, and that was kind of her body type. Really not big hips, skinny, but with giant boobs. But then, as time moved along, you kind of saw the standard for attractiveness was, like, the Kim Kardashian body type of, like, big hips and big butt. And it wasn't, like, the old rail thin idea. And then, of course, for the longest time, like, the rail thin models, like the Victoria's Secret models, who were very skinny and are not really all that busty in either way, they were viewed as, like, this is the standard for society. So some parts of attraction, like symmetry, are, like, kind of objective. But then, like, probably most things when it comes to attraction are totally subjective. Totally subjective. So, and I think that's not a controversial thing to say. So when it comes to this model, to act like, to say something so definitive, like, not beautiful. I don't know, man, if you poll people on whether or not they find her beautiful, you're going to get a strong majority that says, I think she's beautiful. Now, again, there's variation. Some people prefer super skinny people. Some people prefer them average or normal. Some people prefer them more thick. So there's variation, but the idea that you could just say not beautiful, that's not true. I think a majority of people would find her beautiful. Now, the conversation does get difficult, though, because when you talk about modeling, it's like, well, what's the point of modeling? If you want to say, hey, the whole point of modeling is, like, just to show people various products to try to get them to want to buy it, then you should have models that look like every type of person imaginable. Because some people are skinny, some people are heavier, some people are average, some people have wide hips, some people have skinny hips, some people have big shoulders, some people have small shoulders, whatever, right? So if that's the point of modeling, there should be all different sorts of models that mirror every look in society. But if the point of modeling is like, well, let's hold up something that's supposed to be like an ideal, well, most of what's ideal is subjective. Maybe some of it's subjective, but I don't know. I would argue, and this is just me, you guys are free to disagree. I would argue the only sorts of like modeling or like putting a certain body type on a pedestal that I disagree with is when you take the real extremes, because I don't want to incentivize people to be anorexic, for example. So if you have like the super rail thin models, what kind of message are you sending with that to young women? Like, hey, yeah, it's healthy, you should starve yourself. I don't like that when it's the extremes. I don't want to hold up an extreme as an ideal, if that makes sense. So the like the super duper skinny and like the morbidly obese, I would say it's strange to try to hold that up as an ideal and put it on a pedestal and act like, you know, this is the right way to be, or that this is even reflective of the majority of society. I think that goes a little too far. But outside of the super extremes, yeah, models can and should, I mean, look a variety of different ways. And that's okay. And there are plenty of skinny people who are beautiful. There are plenty of thicker people who are beautiful. And I really don't think that that's controversial to say. I think that's like obvious. Now, in my opinion, does Yumi Nu like make the cut as, hey, it makes sense you put her on the cover of the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition? Yes! Yes. Yes. Now, again, maybe I'll be an asshole because if there was somebody who was like super skinny, like anorexic skinny, or there was somebody who was morbidly obese, I would be like, no, don't, like I think that goes too far. Because you don't want to glorify and put on a pedestal things that are genuinely unhealthy. And are an issue that need to be addressed. But everything not that is like, yeah, makes sense. Now, if you wanted to criticize and say, hey, you can't, things that don't actually meet the bar of what we would generally view as objectively beautiful, then I would understand, like, hey, don't put that there because that doesn't make the cut. I get that. And again, that might make me an asshole, but I understand limits to what you can and should hold up as an ideal, but I think by any reasonable standard, Yumi Nu makes the cut, and I understand why they would put her on the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition cover. Like, I get it. I think that's perfectly reasonable. So, I mean, he's just showing... Okay, here's the thing I think that frustrates me about what he says. I think he just thinks that whatever his preferences are across the board are like, that is what is objectively beautiful. And it's like, no, maybe some aspects of it are, but like a lot of beauty and attraction is totally subjective. You know what I'm saying? So it's just bizarre. It's just bizarre. I don't like it when people take what is clearly their subjective view and try to pretend like it's an objective view. You know? So again, he could have made this point in a way that wasn't dickish and wasn't his opinion that he's masquerading as a fact. We could have an interesting conversation. I'm sure there are people who would disagree with me in my take that, like, hey, maybe morbidly obese and, like, anorexic skinny shouldn't be held up as, like, an ideal. Some people might disagree with me on that. But he definitely didn't make this point in an intelligent way, and it's definitely kind of a terrible point. Like, I think she makes the cut to be on that cover, and clearly, judging by the responses, I think the overwhelming majority of people agree with me, although maybe that's a not that correct sample size since it's like lefties on Twitter who despise him who are just going for his jugular. But yeah, it's just, you're being a dick and your opinion is not even good on this, and it's certainly not objective, it's certainly not factual. It's sort of like a boomer take where you just think your preferences are objectively what is beautiful and what should be put on the covers. It's like, and he never would have said this, ever, if it was like the super duper skinny, unrealistically skinny women who were put on the cover. So really the criticism is like, it just cuts in one direction, and it's just for overweight women, and even like overweight women or thick women who aren't remotely like morbidly obese. Just like a little more on the spectrum towards like slightly overweight. That he finds more problematic probably than the rail thin, potentially anorexic fake standard. And that I think is he's like sort of showing his bias there. So anyway, interested to hear what you guys think. Interested to hear if you guys think I'm an asshole for my take on modeling that the super extremes. I get the criticism. I get the criticism of like, hey, maybe morbidly obese or anorexically skinny is not the way to go. Don't hold that up as an ideal, because that sends a bad message that things that are genuinely unhealthy are positive or aspiring. Like, you should aspire to that. Maybe you guys disagree with me. Maybe you're more of the viewpoint that, no, modeling is, since it's supposed to represent everybody, then it should mirror everybody. And so, you know, morbidly obese people and super skinny people, they need to buy clothes too, so they want to see the clothes on somebody who looks like them. You know, that could be the counter argument to my point, but I guess I'm more of the belief that when you talk about modeling, you're talking more about people try to hold up more of an idealish or roughly idealish example of somebody to wear the clothes. And since that's the case, I would solely avoid the super extremes, but basically everything in the middle, I'm cool with. And everything in the middle, as long as it also meets what are the actual objective beauty standards, like symmetry and stuff like that. So anyway, interested to hear what you guys think, but Jordan Peterson here, swing and a miss, dog. And he got ratioed so hard that he ended up rage quitting Twitter. Now, will he be back? I think he'll probably be back. I think eventually he'll be back. And by the way, we're still trying to get him on Crystal Kyle and Friends. I'll touch base with his agent or whatever soon. And hopefully we can get into this conversation and many more. If you want to see me and Crystal Ball interview legends like Noam Chomsky, Cornel West, and more, subscribe to Crystal Kyle and Friends on Substack. $5 a month gets you the video version a day early. Remember, we take 0 ad dollars for this podcast. Or you can sign up on Substack for free and get the audio version a day later. Link in the video description box below.